Jahvid Best suffered one of the most gruesome concussions I've ever seen in a football game. It wasn't his first concussion and it was not his last. Unfortunately for Jahvid, these issues would end up ending his career prematurely. But like a true champion, Jahvid picked himself up, dusted himself off, went forward and achieved yet another extraordinary feat. Today, joining me to tell you this story, my boy KTO. Now KTO and I do very similar videos. Dude is a beast. I know a lot of y'all been asking on my channel and on his for us to do a collaboration. Well, it's here. Also, make sure you check out the most recent video on his channel, which is about ex-Florida quarterback Chris Lee. He may or may not have a special guest in that video as well. Once you get over there, if you enjoy what you see, man, make sure you subscribe to my boy. He may or may not know this, but he was one of my biggest inspirations when it came time for me to adopt a new style of video on my channel. So make sure you go and check out my boy. Without further ado, it's time to answer the question, what happened to Jahvid Best?
In 2007, Salesian High School in Northern California had produced a football legend. The Bay Area is home to over 7 million people, and Jahvid Best holds the single season record for rushing yards and touchdowns. His senior year ended with over 3,300 yards and 48 touchdowns. He was rated a 4-star prospect and had tons of offers from big-time schools. This was mostly due to his electrifying speed. He proved this in another sport. As dominant as he was on the football field, he was just as good on the track. His best 100 and 200 meter times in high school were top 5 in the nation. I even had the honors of getting burnt by him in a race a few years back. He committed to Cal, adding speed to an offense already equipped with burners. I hope y'all know who that is. After sitting behind Justin Forsett his freshman year, his sophomore season in 2008, Jahvid Best had officially caught the nation's attention.
I think he's faster than Reggie Bush. He's a 4.40, but he's a 10.300. You're not going to catch him in the open.
Here's the handoff to Best. Big hole. Distance. He's got the length. He's at the 5 and a touchdown.
There's Jahvid Best. He cuts it up the middle. Tries to get the outside. Look out. He's the 30, 35, 40. Got one man to beat. Steps inside. Now takes it outside. And stepped out of bounds. This is Best again. Best trying to get the outside. Look out. Best to 30, 35. Up the middle of the field. Still has speed. Big field. He's gone. 30, 20 to the 10. 84-yard touchdown run.
Blocker in front. Here goes Best. Jahvid Best throws it out, and just what they needed.
Jumps over a tackle, still on Best. Can he get there? Dives again this time. Close, and the signal, touchdown.
After winning the Emerald Bowl Game's offensive MVP, Best finished the season with over 1,500 yards and 15 touchdowns. But here's the crazy stat, 8.1 yards per carry. That's pretty comparative to this year's Heisman runner-up, Bryce Love. When Jahvid Best is literally at his best, nothing can stop him. When he started the 2009 season, he was named the most explosive player in college football by Rivals.com, and he was an early Heisman candidate. But here's where everything changes. After undergoing 2 separate surgeries in the offseason, he had completely missed spring ball. When he came back, he still put up a solid stat line, including rushing for 5 touchdowns against Minnesota. But relatively late in the season, during the second quarter against Oregon State, this was one of the scariest moments you'll ever see in a football game.
Crazy formation. This is Best. Jahvid leaps into the end zone. Touchdown, California.
Is Jahvid all right, though? He landed on his back.
Was up, he leaped to begin with, and then ended up landing on his back. And he has had some freak injuries over the course of his career.
He would end up being hospitalized that night, and this was his second concussion in 2 weeks. Keep in mind, this is right before the whole thing on concussions really became a big deal to the public. This moment was so bad, he never suited up to play for Cal again. He was actually fine a few weeks later, but he decided to play it safe and forego his senior year to play in the NFL. He was one of the best athletes in the draft, including dropping a 4.35 40 at the combine. and because of this athleticism is the reason why he was drafted so high in the draft.
Minnesota has traded the 30th pick to the Detroit Lions. With the 30th pick in the 2010 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions select Jahvid Best, running back, California.
Now, when asked whether or not that last play in college would affect Jahvid going forward, he said, "Why would it still be a problem for me? I don't even remember it happening." Now, as crazy as that gotta sound to us, before we had a better understanding of what concussions are and the long-term effects that they can have, that answer would have made perfect sense. I mean, how can it affect me psychologically? It's not like I'm thinking about it happening again. I can't even recall it. But you know what they say, ignorance is bliss. Jahvid's concussion issues would eventually catch up to him in the league, but when you run a 4.3 40 at the NFL Combine, it could take a minute to catch up to you. Jim Schwartz, who was then the head coach for the Lions, made one of the weirdest comments I've ever heard. He said, "Some people watch adult videos on their computer. I go to YouTube and watch Jahvid Best highlight clips. That's what gets me aroused." Pause. Jahvid signed a 5-year, $10 million contract and got to work. He actually had an extremely productive rookie season. Now, he was dealing with a turf toe injury, but he started 15 games. He rushed for 555 yards and 4 touchdowns, and when you couple that with 58 receptions, 487 yards through the air with another couple touchdowns, that's a pretty good year, man. Over 1,000 yards all-purpose, 6 touchdowns, not bad. It took a while for the concussions to catch up to Jahvid, but they eventually got there. 2011, third preseason game, second carry. Jahvid suffered another concussion, but he was able to recover and he was ready for the season opener. With a healthy Jahvid Best, a beastly Megatron, Matthew Stafford on the way to having his best statistical season, the Lions started the 2011 season out 5-0. This was especially impressive because they had ended the previous season on a 4-game winning streak. They hadn't lost a game in 9 regular season contests, but their fortunes would soon change. On October 16, 2011, the Lions lost to the 49ers. Okay, one loss, not a huge deal, but one player on the Lions team lost a lot more than a football game that day. Jahvid Best suffered another concussion, and this one didn't look anything like that last hit at Cal, but the effect would prove detrimental. This hit would end the 23-year-old running back's career. Jahvid didn't know it yet, but it was over from that point. Jahvid was placed on IR and couldn't get back on the field due to continuing post-concussion issues. Now, Jahvid didn't really give a lot of details on exactly what he was going through, what post-concussion issues he was dealing with. The common symptoms include headaches, cognitive problems such as difficulty concentrating, and emotional and behavioral issues. And when you're talking about experiencing physical pain along with behavioral changes to your personality, that's a scary thing. Now, even though they knew he wasn't going to be able to play, the Lions actually did the right thing and kept Jahvid on the roster for the 2012 season. That way he would qualify for the NFL pension. In 2013, the Lions released Jahvid. But the story didn't end there. The next year, 2014, after coming to the realization that his football career was done, Jahvid returned to Cal to finish his degree. Okay, he also helped out with the football team. That's pretty common. He even tried suing the NFL and helmet maker Rydell, saying that Lee was aware of the risks associated with repeated brain trauma, but they ignored it and actively concealed that information. Unfortunately for Jahvid, the case was dismissed due to Jahvid's failure to serve the lawsuit. The hell does that mean? I got you covered.
Service of process is a procedure by which a party to a lawsuit gives an appropriate notice of initial legal action to another party, such as the defendant, court, or administrative body, in an effort to exercise jurisdiction over that person so as to enable that person to respond to the proceeding before the court, body, or other tribunal.
So put simply, it seems like you just gotta notify the person in writing and let them know that they're being sued before they're proceeding. Now, this seemed like something that's extremely simple, and I'm not sure if Jahvid hired like one of his cousins as a lawyer or what the hell happened with that. But that seems like an extremely simple process, and it's a little bit weird that something like that is the reason that the case was dismissed. I don't know about that. That's fishy. Either way, Jahvid was still young and crazy athletic, so he went back to a non-contact sport that he had participated in earlier in his life. He got back on the track. He started back competing and qualified for the 2016 Summer Olympics. He ran for his dad's native country, St. Lucia, and competed in the 100-meter dash. And KTO is my guy, but this time he was facing somebody a little bit faster.
Ooh, baby, on that track, I'm going vroom, vroom. Try and catch when I pull up in that zoom zoom.
Now, as you can see, Jahvid was in the same heat with Usain Bolt. Jahvid actually finished 7th in his heat and did not qualify for the semifinal. And even his best time of a 10.16 would not have been enough to qualify him for the Summer Games. Overall, he tied for 54th among 69 runners, so he didn't do amazing, but he became the first NFL player to compete in the Summer Olympics, and he truly made the most of the cards that he was dealt. Jahvid's still hella young, and his football days might be behind him, but I got the feeling this man got great things on the horizon. I know he's not gonna just lay down, and I can't wait to see what the man does next. Shout out to my boy KTO for reaching out to do a collab, and I hope y'all enjoyed the video. My name is FlemLo. I'll holler at you next time, bruhs.
Yeah, you'll never know quitter, 'cause I'ma go get